Hello, hi, I'm Eddie Obeng, and this is How. Daily, I bring you a different way to shape your world so it works for you. Today, I've got something which is not so much about shaping your world, but observing it and actually seeing it for what it is before you shape it. It's called Five Eyes, and let's jump on Cube and I'll show you how to get five more eyes. So welcome to Cube, where, as you know, the sun is always shining. This is one of my favorite cubicles. It's the incubator cubicle, incubator. Okay. And if you've ever done things like innovation and you've worked with things like innovation funnels, you'll find that this is the cubicle you probably want to spend your time in. It's got cool stuff like a bicycle on the wall. It's got some inspirational things, but basically it's got the whole journey of trying to create a new idea or trying to drive innovation on these different boards over here. And so you start from your raw insight, and then you can work through how to improve it, how to build your hypothesis. But we haven't got time for that. So let's just go upstairs and see what we can find. So the red carpets, of course, are where you would work. And of course, we have a lovely staircase here, which I can either walk up or we can, I can cheat. I'll just walk up it. That's easier. If I fall off, don't laugh. Okay, so here we go. Five eyes. So to start the pet off, I have to acknowledge two people who helped me to see the world differently. The person on the left is Jane Fulton-Surrey, and this is Colin Burns. They were both at IDEO at the time, and they opened my eyes. And the way they opened my eyes was they allowed me to realize things which I sort of hadn't articulated, and I probably didn't even know. But one most crucial thing is you see with your brain, not with your eyes. So you can get your brain to see more things, you get more eyes. Here's the thing. So do this with me just for a second. So I don't know what you see here. Do you see squares? Do you see squares, rectangles, type of things? Or do you see circles? Rectangles or circles? Okay, now let me show you what it looks like if I highlight the squares. Look at the rectangles. They're rectangles. You can see the rectangles? Okay, and you're saying, yeah, I could see them before. Or some of you are saying, I can only see circles. Now I can see rectangles. And I'll hide it again. There you go. So it's exactly the same image. And now I'll make you see the circles. Look, circles. Ha, ha, ha. Those of you who can see rectangles, now you can see the circles. And you go, no, it's changed it. No, I haven't. And in fact, you'll see that little blend in your mind because it's your brain which sees things. And Five Eyes is about getting your brain to see real things much better. And it starts off basically with the first eye. And the first eye I used once in a, my brain just stopped, in a busy railway station. I decided to do what the first eye suggests you do, which is just slow down. It's called the slow motion eye, slow-mo eye. And I slowed down, I slowed my breathing, I slowed my walking, I slowed as I moved my head. And within about 5 seconds, I saw somebody I'd not seen for 20 years. I would just have walked past them. Probably most of our lives are spent walking past people we know, but we don't realize it because we're so tied up in what we're doing. So just take some time to change the pace and then see what's there. Look at people longer than is polite. And that's slow-mo eye. It allows your brain to see other stuff which you otherwise wouldn't know was there. This is an image of one of our skill sessions. What happens in our skill sessions is we get people in with actors or with each other, and then we video them. And then we play it back, a bit like an action replay. If you're a sports fan, you'll recognize that. And what happens with an action replay, of course, is you have to observe it and then you watch it back. Look at the period you observed. Go through it emotionally. Go and see what's happening. What are people doing, seeing, feeling? What's actually happening at the edge of the frame of what you're looking at? Instant replay, great way of actually learning stuff so you can see what's going on. And then this one is about looking more closely at what's going on. I talk a lot about change, but also one thing which is really important is stability. And sometimes to understand stability, you really have to zoom in. To understand change, you have to zoom in. These three balls at the bottom are all stable, but they're different types of stable. This is stable in a concave, so it stays where it is. That's stable on a flat surface. This is stable at the top. A small change will completely knock it off. And this is about making sure that you actually magnify what you're doing. So choose something you're interested in, like how are people responding, or what's happening with customers, or what's happening to my sales prices, or what's happening in my project reporting, and just zoom in on that. What would it look like if it was bigger? How does it sound if it's louder? What voices do I hear? How does it smell? How does it feel? So just focus on a very small aspect of what you're looking at and just magnify it. and all of a sudden you'll see different patterns emerging. This is the backstage, Eddie Obeng backstage, and I often use this as a way of doing what you would call, if you were playing sports, an action replay. Before the session, I'll set it up. What's my learning message? What's my setup? What am I going to do during the session, and so on? And I'll set it up probably usually with stickies and so on and so forth, and plan it all. But afterwards, I come back and I have a look again. And why am I doing that? Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build like a film strip of step by step what happened, so I can put each thing into a little frame. What's the current pace? You know, why did this happen? Why did that happen? What happens next? That whole point of having a film strip and imagining what will happen next and really looking at it, your brain sees stuff which wasn't there before. And then this one, you'll recognize, perhaps this is why my famous project bubble diagram, which explains why projects fail all the time, well, 75% of the time. And this is the why I. In other words, think about things. Why did this happen? How did this appear here? Who's here? How did they create it? Once you start working with that, you suddenly see other patterns. For each of these, the big white space is where you capture your observations. And once you've captured your observations, then you would summarize them all in the FiveEyes observation. The slow-mo eye, the instant replay eye, the magnify eye, the film strip eye, and the Y eye. So that's FiveEyes. It's a way of seeing more than you would normally see through your normal 2 eyes by getting an extra 5 eyes, which comes straight out of your brain. And I love this image here because basically you're seeing with your eyes. That's FiveEyes. I've been Eddie Obeng. Leave this call, and the first thing you do is try one of these eyes out. Just try any one of them out, whichever one you fancy, on the next thing which you experience, the next thing you do. Or if you like, just use the instant replay eye on what you just listened to and just see what that brings up for you. I've been Eddie Obeng. There is a quick guide. There's always a quick guide somewhere. And there is a really powerful newsletter. Why powerful? Because we cram all these different pets, people engagement tools, into the same newsletter, along with news and other fun stuff and a couple of blogs. So have a go with that. Sign up, bring your friends, colleagues, and I've been Eddie Obeng. See you again.